Today, I'm going to be helping you find the right team for your software project. It doesn't really matter if it's low code or no code or native. If you haven't got the right team, it's going to fail and it's going to be wasted time and money. So today I'm going to be reacting to 5 super cliche phrases that we at the agency hear almost every week. And I'm going to give you tips on how to make sure that not necessarily avoid these questions, but you have a better understanding about how developers think when you ask or say these statements to them. Let's get started. All right. So the number 1 cliche question or statement that we get is, I want to build an app that can do 100 things. My budget is $500. Truth be told, in this day and age, $500 in terms of software development, I'm not sure how much that can actually get you. There's always the guy who can do this cheaper and can do, $10 an hour worth of work. But honestly, if you're thinking about it, anybody who's any good is probably busy and they've got a backlog of projects that they are ordered to do. And they also have existing clients that they need to maintain. So the budgets that they're expecting are probably higher than, $100. So here's an alternative to what you can ask or say in that sort of situation. My budget is X. How many of the 100 things that I want my app to do can this budget cover in terms of development, testing, and rollout to my users? And see what your developer tells you. All right, this one's one of my favorites. It goes something like, I'm on an urgent timeline. I need this done in a week. Well, I totally understand where you're coming from because emergencies happen and most developers, including myself, we will gladly drop tools to help a client who is struggling with something super urgent, business critical. That's totally normal. Everybody does it. I do it. I've done it, and I will continue to do that sort of urgent help work. But in the situation where you've been dreaming to build the next Facebook for the last 5 years and you suddenly have this urge to get it done because it's nearing Christmas or you just had a New Year's resolution or something like that, well, I think you're going to struggle to find somebody who's good enough and also free enough and maybe slightly crazy enough to take such a mammoth task on. Generally speaking, good people are hard to find, and I would say don't underestimate how long stuff takes. Here's a good tip. Whenever your developer says that something will take about a week, I would say, take that with a pinch of salt. I would personally multiply every week by about 2 because things happen. So anything quicker than that, if your developer says that it's going to take a week and it actually does consistently over the course of time take a week, that's a fantastic guy to work with. If you're in a very crucial point and you're in a rush, before talking about budgets or anything like that, ask your developer, are they able to produce this in a week? And clarify that when you say produce and develop, you mean not just develop, but also account for testing, rollout, and of course contingencies. What if somebody from the team gets sick or something like that within that week? Does his calculation of 1 week take all of this stuff into consideration? And see what they say. Okay, this one's a big one. It goes something like this. I want to build a big app like WhatsApp, Facebook, and charge my clients a certain monthly fee to use the system, or even share it with my competitors and basically sell software. So at this point, I must admit that I love working with ambitious clients. The more ambitious they are, usually the more excited I get. But in most cases, I realize that clients sometimes underestimate the effort and the responsibility that comes with being a software company. So maybe it would be a good idea to ask yourself a few questions. Am I ready to become a software company? Am I ready to put in 20, 30 hours a week into this project? Have I thought about the security of my systems? Am I ready to take personal responsibility for the support of those paying users? Am I ready to take on maybe 1, 2, 3, 10 people to work in the development team to maintain the good running of that product that I will be selling? I think it's easy to think that software companies just arbitrarily charge, 10, 20, 30, 50, $100 per user per month. But there's real costs and responsibility involved in anything that you build in terms of software. Here's one thing that you can ask your developer. Ask them about the biggest project that they've ever worked on and how many concurrent users they had on a daily basis. Did they have 100 users using the app every day? Did they have 1,000, 2,000, 5,000? How did they deal with that sort of number of users? What was the experience like building that app? And you will get a really good idea of the reality of running a software company, or at least a software company in its early stages. All right, the next one is kind of a new one that we've started to hear more and more lately. And it's not so much a phrase or a question, it's the use of ChatGPT or any generative AI to generate project briefs. Now, if you're not familiar with what a project brief is, it's just basically usually a document that tells us, developers, what you would like your app, system, workflow, whatever, to do. And lately, we've seen an uptick in people using ChatGPT to create these briefs. And I love ChatGPT. I mean, it's a fantastic tool that is going to make us so much more productive. And not just ChatGPT, AI in general is going to really change the game in the coming years. But lately I've noticed that clients who do this sort of thing, they kind of don't seem to trust themselves in, the ability to write out a few basic bullet points about what it is that their business does and what the needs are and so forth. For example, I had a lovely lady business owner who sent me the other day a very long project brief. And my initial reaction when I was reading it was, wow, okay, fantastic, great. Somebody's super prepared to do this, they have their ducks in a row. And I noticed that the brief was constantly referring to the system should be able to connect to APIs. And I decided to ask her, which services would you like the system to connect to using API? And her response was, oh, you know what? Sorry, I generated the brief over ChatGPT. LOL. I'm not sure what an API is. What can I say? Things like that will happen more and more. But my suggestion is, before you start generating briefs and not super duper understanding exactly what's been said in those briefs by ChatGPT, just get on a Zoom call with your developer or your potential developer. Explain to them exactly how your business runs. The better they can understand your business, the better product they can deliver. It's almost better for you not to have any brief at all than to stand behind a brief that you do not understand, because that creates confusion with your partner, your developer, who's going to be building this software for you. And the final fifth thing that we hear almost every week goes something like along the lines of, well, I've got the budget, why can't you just work 40 hours a week on my project? Well, we're more than happy to. It's not difficult to throw resources at one single project. But I've got a quick question. Do you have the time to spare for maybe 5-10 hours of maybe Zoom calls that we might need in order to get feedback from you based on all of that development that we'll be doing. Because every single thing that we develop and do, we need to get feedback on. Make sure that we're on the right track and that we're delivering exactly the right vision for your business and your product, and goes on and so forth. If we don't get that feedback, the quality is going to tank, simply put. I would say that a good pace for development is something along the lines of 8 to 10 hours per week. That's just pure development time. And maybe we will need approximately 1 to 2 hours worth of Zoom calls, feedback, time spent on WhatsApp or something like that, or Slack, where we message you what we've done and we get feedback from you. So we can work at a faster pace, but are you ready to follow us at that same pace? Here's a few things that you can ask your developer about this particular topic so that you can get a sense of where they stand. How many hours do you work per sprint as a team? What's the best pace for you guys? How often do you guys do Zoom calls to demo your work? Is it once a week? Is it twice a week? How often do you do these things with your other clients? Will I have a dedicated project manager to help with facilitating better communication between the development team and our team internally? So that's it, guys. Thank you very much for watching. This was an interesting one to make, but I really had a lot of fun going through these questions and thinking about what our clients have responded to and how we sort of manage our projects internally. Let me know in the comments below if you found this video helpful. The whole point of this is to make developers and clients work much better and much more in sync with each other right from the beginning, before you even begin working on your project. That's it for me. My name is Alex, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.